We're all told to chase happiness, right? But what if that's missing the point entirely? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful alternative. The idea that a truly meaningful life isn't found by avoiding pain, but by shouldering responsibility.
And to really get this, we're going to start with a story. It's a single, powerful encounter that just perfectly sets the stage for this whole philosophy. The setup is simple, but man, the impact is huge. And this isn't some abstract, theoretical idea. No, this is a real-life story about transformation, about connection, and about what it actually looks like to pull your life together. So picture this. You're walking through a pretty rough part of downtown LA, and all of a sudden, this car screeches to a halt, a young guy jumps out, and he's super excited to see you. That's exactly how this all kicks off. He runs up and says that for the last year and a half, he's been watching these lectures and just actively working to get his life back on track. And the best part? It's working. He's doing way, way better. But as incredible as that is, the story's not even close to over. So the young man runs back to his car, and then he comes back with his father, and they're just standing there, arms around each other, both of them with these huge smiles. They explain that they haven't just been working on themselves, but they've been working on their relationship together. And then the father says something that just hits you like a ton of bricks. He looks right at the speaker and says, "I'm really happy that you got my son back to me." Wow, just let that one sink in for a second. That is the payoff. And that right there, that moment, perfectly captures the whole idea. See, the transformation that brought that father and son back together, it didn't come from a search for easy happiness. No, it came from that young man deciding to take on the maximum amount of responsibility for his own life, to find a meaning so deep it could help him withstand the suffering that's just part of being alive. So, okay, this brings up a really important question. If the goal isn't just to be happy, then what are we supposed to be aiming for? What's the alternative? Think about it. We always ask our friends, "Are you happy?" And we mean well, but is that really the best question? Is there a deeper, maybe more honest way to check in on how someone's really doing? Well, the suggestion is to ask something much simpler. How are you doing? And the answer that captures the reality of a meaningful life is this beautiful paradox, brilliantly and terribly. It acknowledges that life is this crazy mix of deep suffering and beautiful moments, often happening at the very same time. And this really gets to the core of the difference. Happiness is often a fleeting emotion, a pursuit that kind of encourages us to run away from pain. Meaning, on the other hand, is the profound antidote to suffering, precisely because it looks tragedy right in the eye. It's not trivial, it's tectonic. It's the bedrock that holds you steady when the world starts to shake. Now, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but to build that bedrock of meaning, we have to grapple with the value of suffering itself. And lucky for us, an ancient story offers a powerful lesson on exactly how to do that. Yeah, to really understand how to respond to the hardships of life, especially the ones that feel totally random and unfair, we can look to the ancient story of Job. So here's the crucial point. Job is, by God's own account, a good man, and yet he loses everything. His family, his health, his wealth, it's all just stripped away. And through all this unbearable torment, he refuses to become bitter. He refuses to lose faith. This is the ultimate lesson of his story. Your response to suffering is a moral choice. You can let tragedy make you bitter and resentful, which just opens up a hell far deeper than the one you're already in, or you can choose to maintain faith, to keep aiming up, and to refuse to be corrupted by it. Now, aiming up doesn't mean becoming weak or harmless. In fact, it's the exact opposite. And this next idea, this one's a real game changer. The philosopher Nietzsche pointed out that a lot of people don't do bad things not because they're virtuous, but simply because they're afraid. They're harmless out of weakness, not actual goodness. And this leads to a pretty radical conclusion. Don't aim to be harmless. Aim to be a monster, a formidable, capable, powerful force. And then, and here's the critical part, learn how to bring all that capacity under your own voluntary control. Let's be really clear about this distinction. A harmless man isn't a good man. He's often just weak. A truly good man is a very dangerous man who chooses not to be. He has the strength, but he disciplines it. That's real virtue. So how do you become more formidable? Well, you start by sharpening your tools. The primary weapon you have is verbal competence, your ability to think clearly and make your case. You combine that with the quiet confidence that comes from physical capability, and you start building the foundation of a person who is capable, not just harmless. Okay, so we've got responsibility, we have meaning, we have this idea of controlled strength. How does all this come together in our daily lives? It's really about reframing where we find our fulfillment. This is a brilliant insight from neuroscience. Turns out our brains aren't just wired to feel rewarded when we reach a destination. The real, sustainable reward, the dopamine hit, comes from the process of striving towards a goal you care about. The meaning is in the journey itself. And what is that journey? It's the act of picking up heavy burdens. You start with the most immediate responsibility, yourself. Put your own life in order. Once you get good at that, you'll have the extra strength to care for your family. And when you get good at that, you can start to help your community. This is where meaning is found. So we end right back where we began, with action. It doesn't have to be monumental. It can start with something as simple as making your bed. The point is to aim up, to choose a burden. Because in that choice, you find the antidote to suffering and the path to a life that is so much more than just happy. The only question left is, what responsibility will you choose to pick up today?